sorry that we took so long to get started, but we're starting now. Yay! Okay, so we're recording. Welcome to PTAP 18. My name is Christina Hohorst. I'm sitting here with my wonderful colleague Teresa Ramel, and Sweet Tan is listening in. So why don't we just go on ahead and get started? If we can get to the next page. So what are we going to talk about today? What we usually talk about, if you've participated in these webinars before, what we're doing is just going over the basics of applying for a PTAP 18. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the program, how this is funded, who's eligible. We'll talk about the application, a little bit about process and the schedule. I can answer questions. If you want to send questions as you go, I'm going to be glancing over to see if I have any questions to answer, and I'll try to answer those for you. So feel free, like I said, to send them as much as you can. And what we're also going to do is go directly to the application. And that way, if you haven't been in the application yet, you'll get to see what it's like. So PTAP provides technical assistance resources so the jurisdictions can understand their pavement condition. And we want you to get this information about your pavement condition to decision makers. That's our primary goal. We want to help jurisdictions better understand their pavement so that you can make informed decisions about pavement maintenance and rehabilitation so that everybody gets the most bang for their buck. If you would like to read Resolution 4078 that talks about the PTAP program, let me know and I'll be happy to send it to you. So we use federal STP funds. We get about $1.5 million a year. So the whole cost of all of the projects would be $1.5 million plus the 20% local match that you'll be providing us. We do an annual call for projects, so this happens every year. What we're finding is because, you know, the increase, we haven't seen increases in funding. We used to take care of about half of the jurisdictions one year, and then the next year we would take care of the other half. But since we haven't gotten increases in funding, a lot of jurisdictions are asking for extensions, or we're asking you to ask for extensions. And sometimes we're doing arterials and collectors every 3 years instead of every 2 years as we did in the past. So if you don't get selected in this cycle, please just come back into the next cycle, and we will grant you an extension letter. The required local match is 20% of the total project cost. So a simple 20%, the minimum project amount is $15,000 and the maximum is $100,000. So that's the assistance that we can provide. So if you're a smaller jurisdiction, you're probably going to get all of your service done, including any residentials. If you're a larger jurisdiction, you're going to have to put a little extra money in to get the rest of your, as much of your pavement done as you can, or we'll do it in cycles every time you come in. So every city and county in the Bay Area is eligible for this program. We give priority to jurisdictions whose certifications have expired, or if they're expiring within 6 months of project award. So if this is you, you're getting into PTAP, congratulations. If it's not you, then you're someone that we may, you know, in order to stretch the money, we might ask you to apply for an extension. We recommend that you apply for PTAP 18 if your PMP certification is expiring this year or next year, if you haven't been inspected since 2014, or if and we want you to ask for an extension if you're expiring before January of 2017. We want you to ask for this extension because we don't want your certification to lapse. OBAG 2 is being processed now, and if anybody has any funds coming through the pipeline, we want to be able to okay you getting those funds. So it's critical that you be certified on that list that's on the MTC website. If you need more information about this, do not hesitate to call me. My number is at the end of this presentation. I'll be sending this presentation out at the end of our time here today. So what we do is we provide consultant assistance for pavement management, for non-pavement asset management, which is becoming a larger part of the programs here at MTC, and for design projects, so roadway design projects. If you're rebuilding a road, or if you're looking at a certain type of application to your pavement, that's when you can use design funds. And we rarely give out the design funds, though. We're really concentrating most of the program on pavement management. However, if you're a jurisdiction that performs your own pavement management and you don't use MTC funds to do it, you don't use PTAP, we're going to prioritize your application to receive non-pavement asset management or PS&E projects. And I'll talk a little bit about that during scoring. So PMS projects, they're, like I said, it's so that you can understand your pavement condition and so that you can determine if current and future revenues are enough money to maintain your streets and roads at an acceptable level of quality. We want to help your decision makers decide how much money they can invest in pavement. And we want you to make smart decisions about which streets and roads you prioritize. And what we do is we want to keep you certified. MTC maintains a list of every jurisdiction that has examined their pavement, and it's important that you participate in this process so that we can keep as much funding as we can flowing for streets and roads. So this is the link if you want to check your PMP status. You may have recently got an email from Sharon Cohen, who is an intern who's working with us. I've asked her to contact anybody who is listed in red or yellow on the list. So if you sent your letter, thank you. So the scope of work for these projects is that we will send a fabulous consultant to review and audit your inventory of the road network. They're going to enter any maintenance and rehab data. They're going to update your decision trees. And updating your decision trees is really, really important. We need to have current costs in there. If we don't have current costs for any maintenance and rehab that you've done, then the scenarios that Street Saver produces for you won't be accurate. So it's critical that these costs and that all of this stuff be updated. Oh wait, I'm seeing Kyle has a question. I want to go to my questions now to make sure that let's see, should we still be on the first slide? No, you should not be on the first slide. I am so sorry. Let's see what you see. I don't understand why it's still showing you the first slide. And that is concerning. Yeah, could you? Okay, what I'm going to do, you should not be on the first slide. Okay, here you are. What I'm going to do is go quickly back. Really quickly. We've talked about all this. This is what you weren't seeing. So, critical slides to look at. I apologize. This is just the keystone presentation today. Okay, so let's go here. Let's go back to this slide. This is an important slide because the slides were not moving. And are you still on the first slide? Is it Syed? Do you still have the first slide, or are you seeing slide 4 that lists funding? Slide 4 now. Fabulous. Thank you, Sydney. Okay, so we use STP funds. We have $1.5 million. It's an annual call for projects. Smallest amount is 15 grand. Largest is 100 grand. They see the slide now, so we're good. Thank you. So let's move forward quickly. Everybody gets to participate. That's our everybody gets to participate slide. And this is the folks that we recommend. So slide 6 is important. Slide 6 is the slide that's going to help you determine if you should come in for PTAP. And I get the feeling all of you are. Okay, so let me see. I have, Kyle is saying it looks good now. Before, the timer on the upper left was stuck at 122. You know, go to webinar. I might have to call them because this is a little clunky today. So now we're on slide 7. Slide 7 discusses the projects that we do. We talked about that. And here's the description, the beginning of the description of PMS. And now we're in the scope of work. So now we're back to slide 9. And so what we were talking about was entering M&R history and updating your decision trees. So before you can actually have StreetSaver pull out your estimates, we need all of that information updated. The consultant will come and they'll inspect your pavement, and they'll do the data entry of all of the distresses that have happened over the last 2 years. And then they're going to produce scenarios. They're going to estimate the revenues for pavements over the next 5 years. So you're going to get, they're going to talk with you about how much money you have over the next 5 years, so that they can understand what kind of scenarios to produce for you. And we need to have at least 3 budget or target-driven scenarios produced out of this, because, like I said, it's a way of distilling this data for policy and decision makers. And they might give you advice about ways to improve your pavement maintenance strategies. The consultants that we've selected for the next round are very experienced. I encourage you to ask them any questions that you have about ways to improve your processes. At the end of the inspections, they're going to produce a budget options report. There'll be a draft report and a final report. The draft will be produced sometime around December of next year. Sometimes they get in as early as October. It is critical that you review this report and that you provide comments, so that that we get those comments by latest January, because your consultant has to revise your report, and it might take a few iterations back and forth to get it right. So we really need you to review that report as soon as you get it. And then they're going to provide a final by April 1st to you. If you need full linkage of your pavement data to GIS, to your GIS map through StreetSaver, please let us know in the application. There's a space where you can ask about, where you can indicate this for us. We have open, well, when we get into the application, I'll show you where it is, but we need for you to let us know, because that's an extra cost. And I want to make sure that we give you ample budget to pay for the extra cost of linking your base map to StreetSaver. If you need assistance with council presentations, let me know, because the consultants will be happy to give council presentations, and they can provide training in StreetSaver if you guys aren't quite as familiar. So the next project are non-pavement asset management projects. And so we're doing these for anything that's not on your actual pavement is considered a non-pavement asset. So what we're going to do is help you create an inventory of curbs and gutters, sidewalks, all of those things that are on the street but not on the asphalt, but not actual asphalt. For non-pavement asset management development, we have new StreetSaver modules that all of our consultants are familiar with. And what we want to do is we want to consider projects that will help develop our non-pavement asset management tools. But like I said before, if you aren't getting PMP assistance, this is the kind of project that you would be eligible for. Another project is our design projects. And so the critical thing to remember about design projects is that they have to be for federally funded arterials and collectors only, and you have to have a fully funded construction plan. If it's not fully funded, we can't pay for the design. So as long as you've got the money and you're ready to go, and you don't have a PMP, you don't get PMP assistance from us, there is likelihood that you can get this project. And I say that because we haven't given out many of those. We didn't give out any in the last 4 years. So what are your responsibilities? You attend a kickoff meeting. If you win, I'll be contacting you, and what we do is it's not a meeting, it's a webinar. So that means attending the webinar, and hopefully my technology will work better for the kickoff webinar. You have to work with your assigned consulting firm to develop a scope of work. That's the first task. You guys agree on a scope of work, and that's submitted to MTC. And then you are responsible for providing the final PMP certification letter to MTC. And that final certification letter must be signed by your Public Works Director. So what the consultant will do is they'll prepare the letter for you, but what you'll do is put it on letterhead and get your PW to sign it. So here's a schedule, and what we need you to do is work with your consultants to stay on schedule. So the work scope, schedule, and budget will be due you'll be working on it between March and June. We decide who is going to win in January, and so by March your consultants will be calling you to build a rapport and to talk with you about what you're looking for, while I get their task order ready and fully executed. And then they'll produce the WSB. You'll approve it in either an email, or you'll sign the work scope, schedule, and budget, and they'll forward it to me. On October 1st, all of the work is usually completed, like the updates start happening. So the inspections happen in the summer, and we start doing data entry in October. By December, that's when you get your first budget options report. That's the draft, so all the analysis and calcs will be there. And on April 1st, all of the project reports need to be finalized, because you, the jurisdiction, have until April 30th of 2018 to get that PMP letter in, so that there's no red. What's going to happen is if you win, you'll be listed as part of PTAP 18, and so if your certification is going to expire before that time, you won't go yellow or you won't go red. It'll just stay green. And on April 30th, May 1st, Marcella Aranda, our trustee keeper of the list, is going to make you red and not certified if I don't have that letter. So that's an important date to keep in mind when you're working with your consultants. So you're going to end each project, like I said, with a final budget options report, a completed asset management module, or 100% design. You're going to end with a PMP certification if you did a PMP project, and you're going to get a Street Saver 2-year subscription. Part of your local match pays for your subscription to Street Saver. So everybody provides applications electronically nowadays. So the application is available online at our website at this address here, the mtc.ca.gov services PMP. MTC's new website is not as intuitive as the last one we had. Our old website was really cluttered, but it was a little easier to find things. I recommend going to MTC's website and going in the search portion and then just typing in PMP and then having it bring you to the page that way. Submission of the application tells us that your PWD approved, or their designee approved the application. Because what you're going to do is provide an electronic signature. So the person who is your Public Works Director, or you as the designee, we assume that your leadership knows that this is happening. And don't send me a signed hard copy, please. I'll just lose it. we don't do signed hard copies anymore, and it's delightful. You can always see your application by logging into your account. They're not going to get deleted, so you can always take a look at it. We'll probably close submissions on the last day when the applications are due. So this is the points criteria. Page 17 is another very important page. I don't know why it's showing you the notes, but this is the best I can do for now. But your project scope, if you have a PMS project, you get 25 points. If you usually apply for PMS through PTAP, then you're not going to get a higher score for non-payment asset management or design projects. However, if you are a jurisdiction who performs your own inspections and you don't come to us to request PTAP assistance for PMP projects, we will give you 25 points for a non-pavement asset management project and a design project. But you have to be a jurisdiction that doesn't come to MTC for PMP assistance. I cannot stress that enough. We give you 20 points for the number of centerline miles. If you have fewer centerline miles, then you're going to receive a higher score, because smaller jurisdictions a lot of times don't have the engineers and the folks on staff to perform this work. If you're a prior PTAP recipient, if you haven't recently received PTAP funds, we're going to give you a higher score. And your certification status, of course. Like I said, if you're somebody who's expired now and I can't grant you an extension, you're going to get the maximum points for certification status. So now for the consultant assignment process. We really encourage you to tell me who you want to work with. Please write this down in your application. If you do that, then I'm going to try my best to assign you to the folks that you listed in your application. We use geographic proximity to assign. That means we don't want to send a consultant from Sonoma to San Jose. We would like to keep their costs down, and so we want to try to cluster projects for the consultants. And also the history of working with the firm, the consulting firm. If you like AMS and you want them to work with you again, but if they've worked with you for 3 years in a row, I can't assign AMS to you. The reason is we want to keep the quality consistent throughout. Different consultants have different ways of working, and what we want to do is make sure that our really experienced consultants get around and visit everybody. You know, so I apologize if I have to assign someone who you're not familiar with, but rest assured, everyone we've selected, we have total faith and confidence in, and their experience doing this work. So let's see. Is it moving? Let's see. I'm trying to see what you're seeing. Can someone let me know? Are the pages moving for you guys? Because I'm going to go back and I'm not seeing it move. Can someone let me know if they're on page 19? Okay, it looks like I see page 19. I see 19. Thank you, Laurie. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it, because I looked up and it didn't look like it was correct. So now let's go on to Piggyback local funding. Let's say you're a massive jurisdiction. You're San Francisco, you're San Jose, you're San Mateo County, and $100,000 is not enough for you to inspect your streets and roads. But you have extra money and you want to do extra work. Maybe you're a smaller jurisdiction and we can't inspect anything that's not federally funded. So maybe you want to do a parking lot. Maybe you want to, maybe there's a special project that you want. What we will do is we're happy to allow you to piggyback onto this contract. Even if you're not in that PTAP round and you want to do extra PMS work and you don't want to go through the cost of hiring a consultant, you can call me and I will try to ask you, I will try to get you onto our contract. Now let me see, we're getting an out-of-state consultant. Okay, so someone said that they got an out-of-state consultant who was not familiar with the area and their inspection was really off. Yeah, that's something that I would love to talk with you about, because what I want to do is make sure that those types of things don't happen again. So Ashraf, yeah, please give me a call later and we'll discuss that. I also got, let's see, do you cover residential local streets? Okay, not federally funded. Hi, Lori. Okay, so to answer your question, what PTAP is primarily designed to do, or what our obligation is to inspect arterials and collectors. We do residential and local streets. Those have to be examined every 5 years. So as part of the process, when we send out the PTAP consultant, you'll work with your consultant to figure out what's due. So we're not supposed to use PTAP funds for anything that's not federally funded. However, we want residential local streets and roads also examined. So we may not be able to get them all solo. Like, you can't just do residentials solely. Some of the federal stuff has to be done too. So if your 5 years, every 5 years is due, we are going to look at residential and local streets, but we need to have some federally funded arterials and collectors also examined during that process. And because we want to look at those every 2 years, when your residential local streets and roads come up, those are included. A sampling of those are allowed to be included during this process. If you want to examine more work, though, if you want to examine more of your network, or if you want to purchase something that is a PTAP project, say you want a design and you have the money to pay for it, but you always come in for PMP funding. If you would like to purchase a design through this program, that's fine too. Let me know. The additional scope, like I said, must be an eligible use of PTAP funds. So it's got to be anything listed in Resolution 4078 that I indicated before. Okay, I'm trying to get to the next page. Here we go. There you are. Okay, so the schedule, we released the call for projects on October 17th. Applications are due on November 21st. And in January, I will take the list of recommended projects to MTC's Administration Committee for approval. The minute that is approved, then what I do is I send the list to all the consultants. I start writing task orders, and they should be giving you a call within January, February, March to go get to know you, to build a little rapport, and to figure out what you're interested in doing. So they're going to have a kickoff meeting with you, and then that's when you start working on your WSB. And like I said, that's going to happen once the task orders are fully executed for the consultants. By March 3rd, that's an important date, March 3rd, 2017, you need to have your local contributions to MTC. If you don't do that, I'm not going to be able to release your task order for signature and get it fully executed, so your consultant won't be able to write your work scope, schedule, and budget. So please, 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 I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to get those checks in by the top of March. If you feel like there's going to be a delay, please contact me as soon as possible. Projects will start in April and May of 2016. On May 1st of 2017, that's the deadline to set up Street Saver online. If you have questions about that, you can contact Sweet Tan. His information is at the end of this presentation. And then, of course, the final report and certification letters are due to MTC, and that actually should say the 18th. That should be April 1st to the 30th of 2018, not 2017. So let's go. So this is our contact information. So if you have questions about Street Saver or any kind of technical question regarding PTAP, say you have a question about something that your consultant's doing and you're not quite sure that they're doing something that you need, call me. But if it's technical, call Sweet and I will pull him in. If you have any questions about the program, the funding, the schedules, why did you assign this consultant to me? Call me at the number listed below. And I'm realizing I did not update the phone numbers, and I did not want to close that. But what I want to do now is I want to take you to the webinar. I mean, not to the webinar. I want to take you to the applications that I have up. So now we're going to the PTAP website. To the PTAP Technical Assistance Program. So this is the page at MTC that talks about PTAP. And what you can do from this page, so if you look over here, there's a search engine right here that I'm clicked onto. When you go to the MTC website, what I would do is I would just put PMP, and then you will find this page. Or you can put PTAP in here, and it'll take you to this page. So what we do is we can go here. So from the PTAP page, you click on PTAP 18 Call for Projects, and poof, there we are. We're in the Call for Projects. This is the Call for Projects PDF. So this has all of the information you need about the PTAP program. If you want to apply, you can click over here on the lower left on Apply Now, or you can click here to apply for PTAP. You'll see the schedule is here, letting you know all of the pertinent dates. Click here, and now we're in the application. So what I've done is I have started an application, and I'm going to go through it with you. It says, so I'm going to log in. If you'll notice, you scroll down here, this application actually works better if you're in Firefox or if you're in Chrome. It does not work well in Microsoft Explorer. My programmers tell me that Explorer is not modernized, and that Microsoft is coming up with a new product, or has come out with a new product, and that's what we need for you to use, because you're going to be really frustrated if you try to use it in Explorer. So you create an account here. When you go in here to create an account, this is where you're going to put your information, and once your password is in, then you'll be able to come back to your application whenever you want. So now I've created an account, so I'm going to log in. And I hope it's showing it to you. Okay, so now I'm going to enter my email address. I'm going to enter the password I gave it. And then it takes you back to this screen, but you'll note that my name is up here because I'm logged in. It's up here on the right. So you scroll down, and I can view my application. So I pretended to be one of our jurisdictions. Today, I'm representing City of Antioch. This is not a real application, so my address is on Beale Street in San Francisco. So we save and continue. So what you do is you're entering your information. If you look at the top of the website, you'll see there's jurisdiction. So now you're in jurisdiction information. This red highlighted oval that I'm touching is jurisdiction information. Then you'll enter your contact information, your second contact, some general questions that we have in the application. Number 4 is types. So that's the type of application that you're applying, the project you're applying for. So either PMS, non-pavement, or design. A summary of the costs. And then this is where your signature will be. So this is what I wrote, so I'm going to save and continue. I've listed myself as the primary contact. Make sure that you give me a phone number, and make sure your phone number is correct. I have had situations where I was trying to find folks and I had the wrong phone number, had to chase people around. Also, you're asked to enter your email address twice because we want to make sure that that's correct. Save and continue. So now we're on the to-be contact. And what it did, there's a section, actually now that I'm looking at that, the Street Saver contact. When you get here, and because I already filled it out, when you get to this section, the Street Saver contact, there's a button here that asks, are you the same person? Is it going to be the same person? So what I did was I clicked that that box that's usually up here above title, and it populated this information from the to contact. So the to-be Street Saver contact is now populated in here. But if you have 2 people working on this project, if there's an assistant you work with, maybe you're the project manager, but you have a tech or you have an engineer who actually works in Street Saver, please include that person's information. It's better if we have more people listed on your application than fewer people, because if something goes wrong, if something happens with you, if you're on vacation, or maybe you have a family emergency and we need to reach somebody at your jurisdiction. A lot of the jurisdictions that come in for PTAP are very small, and it's hard for us to find people. So it's best if you have 2 names in here. So now let's go to the general information. We ask you if you've attended training and user week meetings. When you indicate which jurisdiction you're in, this date, the last major MTC inspection date, will be automatically populated. You do not fill this portion out. And so just take a look at it and see if it makes sense to you. Antioch is in PTAP 17 right now. So their last major inspection was in 2013. This is going to be updated to read 2016 once I get their certification letter in April of 2017. So this is the place where you list your PMS consultant. So these are the guys that I listed. You can list anybody, you know, so NCE, you know, who have you worked with, who you like. That's what you want to do, is you want to list everybody that you liked to work with. If you don't remember the name of the firm, most people do, you know, and you remember the name of the person you worked with, put that in. Anything that helps me determine what who you want to work with. Here, if you have a digital map, we would like to know the format. I didn't know, so I just left this blank. So what it does is it auto-populates this and then select whichever format you have. Do you have an agency GIS map integrated into StreetSaver? You can say yes, no, I wasn't sure, so I clicked on not sure. So this is the project information. So what it does is it asks you, please note, for all projects, the maximum grant amount is $100,000. It tells you what the local match is, and so you're asked to select the project types here. And what I did is I selected 3 project types. I know that one of the calculations is wrong for down here, but and we'll take a look at that in a second. But what happens is that when you select when you select here in jurisdiction, the jurisdiction that you're in, it will populate your network centerline miles. If you know those centerline miles, then you may want to take a look at that and make sure that it's right. It's going to populate that number in here too. So if you only want to do half of your network, you can lower this amount. So let's say I only want to do half of my network. Okay, is that the part that I can? No, it won't do that. So network centerline miles. So I want to do 150 miles. So that means if I put 150 miles in here, that's about half of my network. So this is the number that you can manipulate. But what I want to do is 100% of my network. I want to do as much as I can, because I want MTC to pay for it. So now we're back to 100%. So this is where the adjustments are made if you want to do less of your network. Okay, can you contribute any money? Well, I'm broke, I don't have enough money, I'm Antioch, and I'm using, all of my money is tied up on other things that are important to my jurisdiction, so no, I don't have any additional funding, so I'm going to click no. I want to do arterials and collectors, and I also would like someone to come to our city council and make a presentation. So I'm going to say other, I also want to do this. I want a presentation to my city council. So anything extra that you're interested in, that you're concerned about, maybe you want extra StreetSaver training, maybe you're never on StreetSaver and you just want to know how to run reports, maybe you need help. Maybe you haven't done any maintenance and rehabilitation in the past 2 years and you don't know what the current costs are. Any kind of extra thing that's really concerning to you, please place it here. If you don't have anything, that's fine. You don't have to fill this out. If it's just a straightforward PMS project, you don't have to put anything in here. But if there is something that you have in mind that you really need to get out of this process, please let us know. Okay, so now I've also applied for a non-payment asset management project. My project description, it can be really simple. It can be longer. This field, you can put paragraphs in here if you need to. So what I wrote is that we want to manage street signs and their useful life. We want to record reflectivity. So it's a good idea to talk to a consultant to get an estimated cost of how much this is going to cost to perform this type of work. What's a reasonable cost? If you have an idea what the reasonable cost is, this is the amount that I'm gonna want to give you, and then you're gonna have to provide a 20% local match. So this estimated cost is important to get right. So I, like I said, would recommend that you call a consultant. If you don't know who to call me. I have lists of consultants that you can consult to find out how much this will cost you. Can your jurisdiction contribute funding to the project? If you can, then you can enter that amount here. So if I could, contribute money, like let's say I have $10,000 for this. I'm going to put that there. And so when you put this there, what this is going to do is it's going to calculate the local match plus your $10,000. So it'll be a 20% local match plus your $10,000 that you could contribute. And that's something, when you're going to, this is the part where you play around with it to see how much you can afford, what you can spend. If you can't spend any extra money, or if you can, you're going to do this. And then when we get to the next part of the next window, then you'll see what the final budgets are. So what type of asset do I want to look at? I want to look at signs. If there's something you want to look at retroreflectivity, then you can do your other. You can also select other, and you can give us any details in this field right here. So we don't have another, so I'm going to go down to design. So you scroll down to design, and I have a real simple description here, and that is design rebuild of 2 management sections of roadways. I originally entered a construction date here and it didn't keep it, so use the calendar to take care of that if you can, because that way it'll populate it. So I said that I want to do some construction in 2019, and I think it was the spring of 2019. So I'm going to 2019. Let's select May of 2019. There. Nope, it selected something else. Not today. Let's clear that. Let's go here. Let's go to 2019. And select a date in the spring. Let's say the 11th. So just select a date. That way it gives me the month and the year that you're actually going to be performing your construction. And then we think that this design is going to cost $30,000, or maybe it's going to cost $10,000. Again, if you need an expert to talk to regarding what you want to do and how to cost it, give me a call and I will connect you with someone who can help you. Again, we ask, can your jurisdiction contribute funding? If the answer is no, leave this blank. If you have money, put something in there. We need to ask you, are the streets eligible for federal aid? Only arterials and collectors, because I cannot create a design for your residential local streets. We can only use these funds to create designs for arterials and collectors. We also ask, does the construction phase of this project have committed funding? If you click yes, I'm going to ask you, after I receive your application, to give me some kind of evidence that you have committed funding for your construction phase. So let's save and continue. And so this is where you get your budgets, and that's where, we tested this application, and I saw an error this morning that I don't think is corrected, but why don't we take a look at and see how this worked out. So here's your projected grant amount if you have a jurisdiction of the size that we looked at. So that's the grant amount. The project cost is almost $100,000. The 20% local match is about 18 grand. So this is the total estimated cost to your jurisdiction. If there were additional committed funds, then the additional committed funds would be added to the 20% local match. We would subtract out the additional money that you have, and the grant amount would be smaller, so the local match would be smaller if you wanted to contribute funds. Most folks don't contribute extra funds unless they have a larger jurisdiction. So that's where that's if you're a larger jurisdiction, this part's important to you if you want to do extra work. For non-payment asset management, let's see, this is the projected grant amount is 40, a 20% local match is 10, and I think because I switched this, the math actually works. So I think my programmer fixed it because this is where I saw an error in the math. But your 20% local match is going to be $10,000 for the $50,000 project. This is the error. So I said that my design project, oh, maybe it is. It's right. It is right. So the $6,000 is going to be 20% of $30,000. So that's the estimated cost to your jurisdiction. So we have an estimated project cost and a total estimated cost to jurisdiction. The reason that we write estimated is because sometimes the projects have to be scoped down and sometimes they're scoped up. I might give you a call and ask you, I might call you and say, we really need to look at your residentials. It needs to be a little bit bigger of a project. Maybe you don't want to have the report. Maybe you want to just print out the budget scenarios. We really want you to have the report, and we insist that you let the consultant write the report for you. But there might be some special circumstance that we need to consider that'll change the cost of your project. So that's the reason those are estimated amounts. So then you press Save and Continue. And this is the signature page. So what we want you to do is we would like for you to provide the name of your Public Works Director in the full name section, the title of your Public Works Director, and the phone number of that person. That's the information we want here. We want your decision maker's information here. We're never going to call them. We just need to know, because this is the official signature for your jurisdiction, that your Public Works Director or someone who's authorized to make decisions on behalf of your Public Works Director has approved it. So you might fill it out, but you're going to put someone else's name and phone number here. What you can do is you can print out, the sheets and show them to your Public Works Director, and when they let you know it's okay. Whatever your method is, you might give them your login information so that they can look at the application. Whatever you need to do to get them to see it, to get the approval, we'd appreciate it if you would. I'm not going to submit this application because it's not going to be official for Antioch, and my name's all over it anyway. So this is the, and then you're done. So it shouldn't take more than like 5 or 10 minutes to fill out the application. The part that will take a long time is you actually working with your staff to figure out what it is that you want. So are there any questions, any concerns that any of you have that I can cover now? What I'm going to do now is I'm looking through my questions, and it looks like everybody was just kind in telling me if the presentation was moving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on ahead and end the webinar. I thank you for participating, and if you hopefully this recorded the whole presentation. If it didn't, please feel free to give me a call with any questions you might have. Thank you for participating. Take care. Bye-bye.